Chelsea Simcock. This is my layers of skin. So we're looking here, we find our epidermis, we find our dermis, and we find our subcutaneous level. Here we find all our layers, 5 layers of our epidermis, which we'll go into later, and our 2 layers of the dermis, and then the subcutaneous layer, which is our adipose tissue. So this is our fatty tissue. We also see in the dermis layer, you start to see the pacinial corpuscle. You have the auricular muscle, the sebaceous oil gland. You see the papillae, little finger-like projections that go all the way from our subcutaneous layer through the dermis, through the epidermis here. We've got our hair follicle and the papillae nerves here. This is our hair follicle that goes all the way up, and our sebaceous gland is attached to that. This is our sweat gland, or our pseudophorus gland. So these are our glands, and I'm going to get into all of it really quickly for us. What our functions of our skin are: we have shapes, we have sensation, heat regulation, absorption, protection, excretion, and secretion. Helps us feel cold, heat, pain. Helps us know if we need to adjust our temperature in our body. It sends in responses to the heat or the cold. Absorption, it takes in water and oxygen. Protection, it keeps our organs and muscles and bones safe. Excretion, it gets out sweat and salt and waste from the body. And secretion is it gives off that sebum, and it starts to create that pH level for our acid mantle to protect our skin. These are our layers of our epidermis. We got the stratum corneum, stratum lucidum, stratum granuosum, stratum spinosum, stratum basale. Stratum corneum, this is our toughest layer, this is our top layer, continuously shedding those cells and making new ones and new layers. It is our acid mantle lays here. This is our protection. It takes from our sebaceous gland, oil from our sebaceous gland, and then from our sweat gland, and it makes that average pH of 4.5 to 5.5. Then we have exfoliation. Actually, we exfoliate from the stratum disjunction, which is right on top of the stratum corneum. This is what we do as estheticians when we start to exfoliate the skin. So that is taking off the dead cells. And then desquamation is a process of the skin cells being sloughed off and the cells being replaced. We have mitosis, which is cell division. This is when our cells tend to take 1, and it makes 2, it makes 4, it makes 6, it makes 8, and then it keeps going on, and then usually the body determines where it's going to go. Stratum lucidum, this is our transparent lucid ones. This is where we see them on the bottoms of our hands, the bottoms of our feet. Keratinites have densely packed here, making that clear keratin. Squamous cells are found here. And it helps with the friction between the stratum corneum and the stratum granuosum. Stratum granuosum is the granular layer. Cells start to decrease in their function as they start to lose their nuclei. The keratinization, when the granular layer makes cells flat, which prevents the water loss. Keratinites produce many protein substances like keratin in the layer. Keratin forms fibers that are found surrounded by protein structures by keratinization called keratin hyaline. This creation of keratin starts in the production of this layer. Stratum spinosum is our spiny layer. This is our prickle cell layer. We also start to find our protection here. So our Langerhans cells are when we might get a cut, and they it creates an immune response. It starts to call in the antigens. The antigens call in the T cells, and they start to fight any foreign substances in our body. Stratum basale, or stratum germinativum. This is our deepest layer in the epidermis. The keratinites here start the natural moisturization factor. It allows water bonding properties to the stratum corneum. Melanocytes create melasomes, pigment granules. This is where we get our melanin, which creates our color of our skin and also protects us from UV rays. Merkel cells are found here, and they are what are responsible for our response to touch. They have our feeling in it. Dermis layer. The dermis is completely alive. The hemadosomes are small filaments that connects the dermis to the epidermis through the basal layer. This is all made up of connective tissue, made up of semi-fluid substances containing collagen protein and elastin fibers. This provides the support to the epidermis. We also find our fibroblast cells. These are active replacement cells. They secrete collagen for the structure of many tissues. In our first layer here of the dermis is the papillary layer. Papillae are the finger-like projections, and they go into the epidermis and nourish the skin. Taxol corpuscles, or the messenger corpuscles, are what help us feel like touch. The structures give our brain and body information about external and internal environment. This is found in the dermal papillae. Mast cells found in the dermal layer plays an active role in wound healing. These active cells can cause acute inflammation and promote scarring. We also see our reticular layer in the dermis. This is where we start to see our glands. We have the pseudophorus gland, which produces sweat. We also have the sebaceous gland, which produces sebum. We have our eccrine and our apocrine. These are both in this pseudophorus gland. The sebaceous gland over here is attached to the hair follicle. That's when it creates the oil. It releases it through the hair follicle to the top. These have less blood vessels, but we have collagen and elastin fibers. When we start to age, we start to see the skin sag and wrinkle. Finally, we have our sebaceous layer, which is made up of adipose and auricular tissue, loose connective tissue. This is our fatty layer. It provides protection to our bones and our bodies. Nerves are found down here and up to our lower epidermal layer, responds to pain and temperature. The areolar tissue is loosely woven fibers that gives our skin soft pliability. It's soft elasticity, support, and immune system. The adipose tissue is that fatty tissue. The adipocytes are the fat cells. They're around the organs, store energy, insulates, and reticular tissues holds it together. And that is my skin layer project. Thank you.